Go Big 12 or go home. I'm Brandon Shanahan, joined as always by Iowa broadcasting legend Drew Russell. Boy, oh boy, what a time to be a host of a Big 12
Ooh,
podcast.
what a time to be alive in general, Brandon. And not just that, to be the host of one of the great podcasts in this country, Big 12 or Go Home. What a slate this last weekend. And what a November we've got cooking in the world of football. Oh me, oh my. I can't wait.
So on the pick'em, we both did pretty well. Both a
Dude,
4-2 record here. Bring that up here. Not bad. 4-2 record. Hope that's for next week. We don't need to look at
yeah,
that yet.
let's take a look at our very nice.
Yeah.
I don't regret my Baylor pick, Brandon. I'm telling you, I'm gonna keep it up. I don't care if I lose every week. I have to do it.
You know what? Let me out. So I got this jinxing streak going on, and I feel pretty good about it, which is why I feel comfortable talking about it, because talked about firing Mike Gundy at the beginning of the season, had a clip on TikTok about that. You see what happens. We talked about West Virginia in the Big 12 championship, and then they lose to Houston the same day that episode drops, I'm pretty sure. And then you have who else? Who else did I do? I did early on after the Houston game. Told you to watch out for TCU. They're coming around. That didn't work out too well. And then just for the giggles, I did a clip about Eastern Iowa right before the Minnesota game. So I think I got some magic. So let me just ask you, Drew Russell, is this the week to do the Kansas video, or do we postpone and wait for possibly a Texas
Oh man.
attempt?
Oh, that's a good question because that's quite a track record that you've put together.
Yeah,
Like that is a legitimate it's kind of scary. If you had old takes exposed,
it's the
looking
whole
at
Husker Connection TikTok page at this point.
yeah, it's just old takes exposed nonstop, and that's why they pay us the big bucks, is to get to be wrong all the time. I don't know. I think I'll see what my pick is, but I think you have to consider doing that.
I think I do. It is, primetime game, which, as you mentioned a couple weeks ago, Iowa State outstanding at home when the sun's setting during the game.
Mm-hmm.
Especially in a ranked matchup like this will be.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, maybe we got enough good juju on that end. Iowa State's buzzing.
Yeah, I better.
So
It's
yeah,
gonna
we'll
be.
see.
It could be a chilly night, but I better see a sellout.
Yeah,
I need a sellout. It deserves one.
it's gonna be rowdy for sure. But
Yeah.
I also don't feel too bad about Oklahoma. I mean, that was what are you gonna do? What are you gonna
Yeah.
do?
I mean, it was the safe pick, and I think the right pick for the time. They didn't play very well. I don't care. 3 turnovers and an abysmal third down rate. A lot of penalties. You're not going to win, especially on the road. And that's what happened to Oklahoma. And, but the rest of our picks, I don't blame them. I thought even UCF was not a bad pick after West Virginia lost 2 straight, but the Mountaineers came through, and I don't care. I'll keep picking against my Cyclones. If that means wins, every time I pick against them, they win. So I don't care. If that means a loss for that week, then so be it.
Yeah, and I'll throw something out at you, Drew Russell, which is to kind of double down on my Oklahoma pick. I'm 26 years old. Went to high school. I'm an educated man. Went to college. Graduated college. Now I'm in the workforce for several years, mind you. I've been alive for 4 presidential elections or whatever at this point.
Yep.
Oklahoma has lost to Kansas before Saturday one time in my entire lifetime. So that feels like a pretty safe bet year after year.
It is exactly. I mean, it was the definition of safe. It's like when you're applying for college, right? That you apply to all these schools, and then but kids always talk about they have their safety school. That okay, no matter what, everything like this school is going to take me no matter what, or like I'm going if everything goes bad, and that felt like the safety school. Like OU's. I know things aren't perfect the week before. They'll take care of business.
Yeah,
but they didn't. And
Yeah,
Kansas played great. They earned the win too. So it happens.
Yeah, and then tough beat West Virginia over UCF. I just have such a I I can't figure out West Virginia to save my life. So it is what it is. I was glad to pick up the other 4 wins, especially Iowa State on the road.
Mhm.
It's a good one, but boy, what a murderer's row! And all the teams in action again. So great opportunity. Hopefully try to make up some ground here.
Yeah.
Getting started on Thursday, TCU and Texas Tech in Lubbock.
Mm.
Um, I Man, I don't like either of these teams.
This is kind of one of those, like at the beginning of the season, this is a great game.
This is one that you circle on the calendar.
Right. At the beginning of the season, considering what you and I were kind of expecting and kind of our predictions, we thought this, I mean, we thought this would be a major Thursday night game for conference standings implications. And instead, that has not been the case whatsoever. It's been the complete opposite. This is a bizarre game that has storylines, but all for the wrong reasons for both of these programs.
No kidding. I mean, both these teams right now just fighting and scratching and clawing for bowl eligibility. Both of these teams have this game circled as kind of a must win. So after this, TCU plays Texas. They play Baylor. That should be a win, get them to 5. And then Oklahoma. So
Mhm.
you really gotta get this one for TCU. Texas Tech kind of in the same boat. 3-5 currently. They play at Kansas next week. That's a toss up at best. At best
Yeah,
for
at
Texas Tech.
best.
And then you play Central Florida at home. You'd like to have that one scheduled. And then Texas. So you got to find a way to win 3 of those 4 games to get there. This is one that you got to win. So it should be a pretty good game
Yeah.
desperation wise. And I guess I'll just default to the home team because I don't feel very strongly that TCU will put it all together for this week. They're both coming off a bye, so that kind of
Mhm.
cancels it out. So if you like one coaching staff or the other, this would be a good game for that.
Yeah, this is I'm kind of same line with you, Brandon. I was going to go Tech as well, just because they've got the home field. TCU has not played well on the road this season. I mean, they beat Houston on the road, but outside of that, it has not been, let's say, a pretty sight. They went to Iowa State, did not play well, and then a couple weeks ago when they played Kansas State, they lost 41-3, and just did not look too sharp. And I not saying that Coach Dykes and his staff haven't made adjustments and they won't be more competitive, but I'm with you. I got to go Tech. I just feel like at least they have home field and their offense has shown life throughout the season. They've been pretty decent at home for the most part.
You know what? I think I kind of talked. I forgot how bad that Kansas State game was.
Yeah.
And as somebody who believes in Sonny Dykes and believes in the dude still there at TCU, I think I got to imagine. I mean, you could probably say the same for Texas Tech losing to BYU going into the
Yeah.
bye, but I'll switch that up to take the Frogs, just
Yeah.
because we talked about the Ohio loss for Iowa State beginning of the year. Maybe that's the same kind of wake up call for TCU, and I can make the same case for Texas Tech. But boy, that Kansas State loss has got to leave a bitter taste in everybody's mouth.
Yeah, I fully agree. I mean, I'm not going to fight that there might have not been some adjustments, but Texas Tech. I'm going to say that they're going to act like the more desperate team right now, and maybe it's
Yeah.
just the coaching staff in that room realizes, think if we lose, we're 3-6, and we don't care. It's only the second year. We had a nice year last year. In world of college football, and especially in the state of Texas, patience wears thin usually pretty quickly if there's a lot of losses that go along with it. So
Yep.
I'm picking Tech because I just feel they're going to be more desperate. I really think they're going to come out swinging. And Lubbock's weird any night, but Thursday night in Lubbock, you can't tell me there's not some fascinating vibes. And tickets are only $9 right now, Brandon. $9 you can go get weird in
Man.
Lubbock. 9.
We
Pretty
gotta check how
amazing.
far a drive that is from Dallas. Here, it's probably a 4 or 5 hour.
That's
But
good.
man,
Texas is a big
yeah,
state, Brandon. I'll say that. I
it
know
is.
it's a tank.
Let me see here. 293 miles. That yeah, 5 hours and some change. I think I'm gonna have to sit this one out, Drew Russell.
Okay, I
I'm gonna have to
just
sit this one out.
$9. I mean,
$9 on
you
a
can get beer.
Saturday. I think I could.
You know
Swing
what? It'll be November, and you'll still see Halloween costumes out there.
it. Absolutely.
Guaranteed.
So we'll kind of bounce around on the schedule here, pick up some of the better games late. So we'll skip all the way down to Houston at Baylor.
Mhm.
I guess coming into the season, this would have been a good matchup because I believed in Houston to be competitive. Baylor, I was hoping that they would take a step, but man, both of these teams have failed to meet relatively low expectations.
Yeah, that's putting it perfectly, Brandon. That we thought TCU Texas Tech was could be a little bit ugly. This game could be a train wreck. The Twitter X account, the Sickos Committee. I mean, this is their type of game. It really is. This is going to be a game that is not going to be pretty whatsoever. Baylor is a slight favorite, that over under at 56.5. And both these teams don't inspire a lot of confidence. Baylor was very poor at home last week against Iowa State, and they have not been very good at home either this year, Brandon. If you just look at just some of their results, in fact, they've had a ton of home games this year, and they are, let's see, they are 1-4 at home.
Wow.
1-4. Oh no, I'm sorry. I take that back. They are 1-5 at home.
Oh,
they have lost.
Boy,
they lost to Texas State 42-31, Utah 20-13, Texas 38-6, Texas Tech 39-14, and Iowa State 30-18.
Man, that's a tough place to be.
They're 2-0 on the road, so just remember that in the future. 2-0 on the road is the Baylor Bears, the Road Warriors. But that's they have not been good at home this year, but Houston hasn't been exactly pretty. But you know what? I'm gonna go Dana Holgorsen. I'm curious enough, Brandon. I'm probably gonna regret it, but I'm gonna go Dana Holgorsen. Baylor's just McLean Stadium's a beautiful stadium, but it's not a home field advantage this year.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Especially for like a Saturday afternoon game. I mean, there's not really a whole lot of excitement. You kind of look at it like we were talking desperation for TCU Texas Tech. This is kind of the same boat. Both these coaches probably playing for their job. I think because of that, I believe in Dave Aranda just to get it done. But man, I don't feel good about this at all.
I crack up that we both made our picks, and just the first thing out of our mouth is, I don't feel good about this though. Just to make it clear, I don't feel good about this.
Yeah, it feels like a game that you'd like to have on a week where you're letting the coin pick for you.
We should have. I should have got my wheel or something. You have your coin. I'm gonna get the wheel or something in the future. And I'll tell you what. This is gonna be a great college basketball game though this year.
No kidding.
This will be a wonderful college basketball game. Football, McLean Stadium. Hey, it might not be the most rocking place, but again, you get it for under $10. So you want to take, never been to a college football game. You want to get in cheap. There you go.
That's a little bit more of a doable drive, but we got the tricky thing about going to football games is that it really limits the amount of games that you can watch, which is kind of where I'm at in life.
See, I mean, it depends on how much you value a dollar, because, and I can wait till we get to the game. Oklahoma State, get in price right now. Definitely not $8. Let's go with that.
Oh man,
get in price right now for Oklahoma State's $429.
My God.
And so, see, at that point, if you told me, would I rather go Houston Baylor for $8 or pony up for Bedlam. Now, granted, that's history because this could be the final matchup in a long time between those two schools for football. Yet, I feel like, am I going to have 42 times more fun? Because that's what it would be, about 42 times more than what you're paying for the other. I don't think so. I think I could have an okay time at Houston Baylor. Probably not as much fun as Oklahoma State, but I could say, well, at least I saved, 415, 420, 425.
Man, that is a good question. That is tough to really wrap your head around, because I would argue that if it's a good game, and I mean this might be biased because I went to this game a couple of years ago when Caleb Williams lost. I would probably argue that it is 42 times better. I mean, I guess Baylor and Houston should be a good competitive football game. So yeah, at least have that aspect. But man, you know what? Yeah, I would say that at Oklahoma State with as a Big 12 championship elimination game.
It's true.
Yeah, that's 40 times better.
That's true. Like
42 times.
like Baylor Houston's like the simple. You know what? You take a date. She never been to a game before. That's the perfect game.
That's a great game. Great game to take the kids to.
Great game to take kids to. 3-5-year-old.
Yeah.
They don't care.
Yeah.
Get them an ice cream. Have fun. But you're right. For devoted fans like both of us, I agree with you. It's like, well, in the long run, this is not going to be the most historically meaningful game, which, for all I know, something crazy will happen. You'll put me on the TikTok page. But, yeah, you're right. I mean, this Oklahoma State game's going to be remembered for a long time in that state. And more probably for Oklahoma State fans, Oklahoma fans, OU fans might move on quicker. But it'll be remembered. Like, a long-standing rivalry like that to end, it'll be remembered. And a lot of people want to say they were at that last game. So you are right on that.
And I'll also tell you on this fact, so it's in Stillwater, and you got to think from the eyes of Oklahoma State fans, they're getting hot. They started off a little bit slow. Some quarterback concerns. Quarterback concerns still kind of there. But if you're an Oklahoma State fan, you're feeling really good about this matchup. Or if you're an Oklahoma fan, started off hot, you survive Red River, you struggle last week, you stumble against Kansas this week. You're really hobbling into this game. Mm-hmm. Just the energy when those Oklahoma State fans will smell the blood in the water. That to me is such a game changer when we're talking about college football matchups. If it was in Norman, different story. This doesn't quite apply to that, but just a specific set of circumstances and where these two teams are. I mean, you're kind of talking me into spending a chunk of change to get up to Stillwater this week.
That wasn't my goal, Brandon. That wasn't my goal. I just, but it is interesting though, because and I guess that could be viewed at life as well. Like, you may paid a lot, but did you get your money's worth for the experience? And that's probably an experience for those fans that they're not going to forget, whether good or bad. They're not going to forget though, and that's maybe worth living. So, but I found that discrepancy pretty wild.
It's a pretty big discrepancy.
First two games, and then we'll talk about OSU later.
Outstanding. But getting a couple other stinkers out of the way. Or I guess this game probably isn't quite a stinker, but BYU West Virginia, good matchup. I
kind of like this matchup.
Yeah, they both got their specific mountain ranges that they'll defend till the ends of the earth.
Yep.
They do it in very different ways, I'd say. But West Virginia at home, I have such a bad beat on West Virginia this year. I don't know what to think. I do think sending BYU across the country, across 2 time zones, I think that's not nothing. And West Virginia's been, they played really good. They played really well last week, so it's give me the Mountaineers.
Yeah, I'm going to be in the same boat as you on this one, Brandon. I kind of took a risk with West Virginia last week. Didn't love the matchup against Gustavo and his beloved Golden Knights down in Orlando, but they really came through. And this isn't a meaningless game. Winner gets bowl eligibility. So that is something to keep an eye on. And like for both these teams, based on where you finish in the conference, depends on which bowl game you get to, and usually the bigger bowl game, nicer deals you get for the student athletes and for the school as well. So again, a significant game for both these teams. West Virginia, just a fascinating team because they don't have anybody that like really sticks out offensively, but they play pretty tough defensively. They've had a great running game throughout the season. As long as they don't make any mistakes on the ground or through the air in terms of the turnover department, they've been playing great. And for Coach Brown, they get bowl eligibility. They've got to bring him back. I mean, he's earned it. I mean,
Yeah.
you got to give him another opportunity because they've definitely played for a team that was picked dead last in preseason Big 12 rankings. They get bowl eligibility. Give him another year. He's earned it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And kind of looking at the stats here on the Score app, I have to specify that because I don't know where these numbers are coming from. But total offense, BYU is 221st in the country. I didn't know that there were that many teams. There's got to be something up with that. West Virginia 93rd. So defensive wise, it's a matchup between the 180th best defense, the 163rd best defense. So it'll be a real college football sicko game. But kind of the difference being West Virginia's 3-1 at home. And
Yes.
BYU's 1-3 on the road. If I were going to sell you on BYU, and I'm not going to talk myself out of West Virginia like it just did with TCU, but their schedule after this includes Iowa State, Oklahoma State, and Oklahoma. And you talk about how big that bowl eligibility-ness is, especially your first year in the Power 5. That'd be a big accomplishment. This is kind of the game where you got to get it done if you're going to do that.
Which is crazy. Yeah. You're dead right, though. You're dead right because West Virginia, on paper as of right now, is probably the worst of those four teams. And they're pretty traditionally difficult at home. So Morgantown at night, I hear that, the couch burning traditions out in Morgantown are dying. And, if it's a night game and they get bowl eligibility, I know maybe they have higher expectations, but I say let's burn a couch. Let's bring back the old traditions. Let's go nuts in Morgantown for a win. But that's just me. Maybe I'm off.
And so the last stinker game, this might be the stinkiest of the games from just a pure relevancy kind of aspect to it.
Oh, I love it.
Where it's oh my gosh, this is crazy.
Isn't this fun?
It's because none of these teams are making a bowl game. We have Arthur Gustavo Malzahn on one end. And this is, I think, if you're really selling the Big 12 in this new age, this is going to be one of kind of your stapled rivalries. These two teams have gone at it after the last half a decade as far as, competing to be that best group of 5 team to get into a New Year's or a New Year's Six Bowl or even the college football playoff. This year, both teams definitely have not met expectations. And I think just because of that and bitterness towards Cincinnati falling so short of where I had them, I got to pick UCF just out of spite more than anything. And I love me some Arthur Gustavo Malzahn III. So,
yeah, no, I gotta say, Brandon, both these teams have. Somebody's going to win their first ever Big 12 game.
That's right.
Garrett, right? Somebody's right. 2-0-5 programs. So somebody's got to do it. And they have both had uninspiring performances throughout the season. And this is the same Cincinnati team that beat Pittsburgh at one time. Granted, Pittsburgh's had, they've kind of ran into some of their own junk. UCF at least has shown
good today.
Yeah, I gotta say UCF to me has shown more life than Cincinnati. Cincinnati is, it looked like they almost quit a little bit last week in Stillwater, and I just wonder where their heads at with that program right now. I'm with you. I went against Gustavo last week, Brandon, and it hurt me. It hurt me to my core. Because there is not a more electric man who can wear a sweater vest than Arthur Gustavo Fring. I mean, that Auburn sweater vest was iconic. And I think he needs to bring that back on a more consistent basis. It's there, here, and there. But bring back sweater vest Gustavo every week. So I got UCF.
It's a good move. It's a good move. I think at the beginning of the season I picked Cincinnati to win this game at home. They had a real strong home record the last couple of years, but granted, this year they lose to Miami of Ohio at home. They lose to Oklahoma at home. No shame there. They get blown out by Iowa State at home, and then they lose to Baylor at home. So yeah, whatever kind of cachet they had from field advantage to me is out the window indefinitely. So
Yeah.
I don't think that matters much here.
No, I don't think
That's a
so
good one.
either.
Yeah.
Now, are we ready
So
to
let's
go?
see.
Are we ready to get to the?
I
Are we
mean-
ready to? I mean, as fun as the first four were, now we go to some serious implications with these last three.
Yeah, I mean, what a slate, what a draw. The top 6 team in the conference all playing each other. And these are Big 12 championship elimination games. Elimination
are.
games for Texas and Oklahoma as far as the playoff goes if they lose. I mean, these are some big games. I kind of want to start not to give this, not to take away any credit from this game, but there's not playoff aspirations on the line.
Yep.
And then there's
Agreed.
not Kansas is pretty well out of the Big 12 title race. So we'll start with Kansas and Iowa State at home. To me, I'm going to ride the magic of Iowa State at home. I think that we talk about how rowdy that fan base can be, and I think despite the cold, despite the lower brand-esque matchup, I think they're going to show out in droves, and I think that would be such a big difference, especially for a quarterback like Jason Bean, who has stepped in pretty notably for Kansas as far as picking up some big wins. He played really well last week against Oklahoma State in a loss, and that's a tough environment to play into. But I think Ames is going to be just as rowdy as Stillwater that day. So give me the Cyclones at home to continue the Cyclone Larry streak.
Oh, I love the pick, Brandon. Iowa State has been playing such good football. These young pups have really matured in their own and are becoming seasoned veterans before you know it. KU's coming off an emotional high as well off OU. Go to a tough environment. Jack Trice will have some juice on Saturday for sure. But I'll tell you what, Brandon, if you go back to previous weeks, I don't know how long I've been picking against Iowa State now. It's been a few weeks. And since I've started to kind of pick against them on a regular basis, they seem to be winning. And and I think KU's got a good team. I mean, they've got terrific running game in Neal. They've got a defense that has been very opportunistic and really can create problems. And that's why it's going to be, if this isn't a one possession game, you can color me shocked personally. I think it'll be difficult. But look, I want my streak to continue. I want Iowa State to keep winning. And I'm a superstitious man, so I'm picking Kansas.
Got to keep it rolling. I respect.
Does that make any sense? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it does make sense because it's one of those things where it's like I'd rather be wrong. I'd rather be wrong than be right here.
Yes.
And I think it could absolutely go either way. So it should be a good game. Primetime ESPN slot on a loaded week in college football. So there's going to be a lot of eyeballs on this game. So watch out.
It's part of a great just entire weekend of college football. Just some of the games across the board, not just in this conference, but throughout the country is great. So this is great opportunity for these two programs as well to showcase it. You and I have talked about this on previous podcasts, Brandon, about how important it is for all of these schools to take advantage of their branding opportunities if they get a primetime game or a really good kickoff time to make sure that they show out, play good football, make sure the crowds are into it, because this does help with recruiting. It helps with building the conference for the future.
You're absolutely right there. Moving on here. This is certainly one that I scheduled at the beginning of the year. And for good reason, Kansas State and Texas. elimination game for both of these teams.
Mhm.
They each picked up a loss that they'd probably both like back at this point, but both playing really good ball coming into this game. Texas blowing out BYU with Malik Murphy making his debut last week, and then Kansas State with the shutout against Houston certainly isn't nothing, especially when we talk about momentum here. So this feels like two teams that both feel like that they could win conference championships here. In Austin, for me, I think I'm nervous about Malik Murphy. I don't think he was particularly strong last week, or he didn't need to be very strong last week, where
Mhm.
he's going to have to make some plays this week. And maybe the extra week helps get acclimated. So that would be my worry for Texas. But I think top to bottom, they're just humming. Texas is no easy place to play. Man, but I love Kansas State as far as their the two quarterback system they set up. They were more, way more Will Howard predominant last week. But man, you think about it.
I mean, Kansas State's 2 losses are to a Mizzou. Again, that Mizzou loss the time you and I, our reaction to that next week is that's a tough loss.
Yeah,
Mizzou at the time they weren't all in on Eli Drinkwitz, their coach, and now Mizzou they're going to number 1 Georgia Saturday as the top 15 team in the country. They have 1 loss this season. So
yeah,
and K State could have and probably should have won that game. They win that, they're 7-1, and the other was a bizarro Friday night game against an Oklahoma State team that has really revitalized their season. This is a great football team, Brandon. It really is. But that said, though, Texas, there's a reason Texas is, I mean, they're a wild OU drive away from being undefeated.
yeah. That's such a man because it depends on the sentences. You know what, Russell? I move that we skip this game and then we circle back to it. I have no idea what I want to do here.
That's fine with me. I mean, we'll have to make the pick eventually. Or we can make that we could do like the ESPN marathon, like for bracketology, where they just do it for like 96 straight hours. So we could go on for 96 straight hours talking gibberish, and then you'll have to wait, and then you could make a pick right before kickoff. But we're not going to do that.
Man, tell you what, Russell, only $91 to get into that game.
That's the perks of a 100,000 plus seat stadium.
Yeah,
That's pretty. That's not bad considering.
yeah.
That's not
11-8.
bad.
You know what? Well,
Six and mid looks like mid 60s days, and
yeah, should be a good one.
That's perfect weather.
So we'll circle back to that one, and then Bedlam, the other one on the roster here.
Mm.
Oklahoma State at home. Oh boy, I don't like this one either. I don't have a good feeling about either of
I
these
know.
teams. I mean, Oklahoma. Well, you can say this for both teams. They're both really playing for their season here, and it's electric that it's your rival that you have on this week where everything is on the line.
Mhm.
Oh man, Oklahoma State.
I'll
Give
tell you what, this. What are you going with?
I think I got to go with Oklahoma here. I just thinking probability wise, what are the odds that Oklahoma lets this one slip through their fingers? But Oklahoma State's buzzing. I mean, this is a
I'll tell
bad
you
week
what,
to get
Brandon.
right.
You know, Brandon, I looked at this game too with the same pain you do, and I'm going to ride the Ollie Gordon trade in Oklahoma State. I love the
That
home
helps.
energy. I know it does. I know, well, I mean, that's part of it. I mean, it's you want to be competitive towards the end of the year in every aspect, but if Oklahoma State, I mean, Ollie Gordon last 5 weeks, this kid is coming out of nowhere. Iowa State ran for 121 yards, Kansas State 136, Kansas 168, at West Virginia 282, and Cincinnati 271. This
That's
kid's going, he's balling. Now, I'm guessing Oklahoma on every single meeting this week is going to say, you look for number 0 and you make sure that he's not counted on for your offense. But but the key for Oklahoma State is, do they have the defense to keep it going? And they've seen, I mean, they've won 4 straight. And Cincinnati only gave up 13 last week, but before then, they've given up 21, 32, 34. And they have struggled to slow down teams defensively this year. And Oklahoma does have a good offense, but I don't know. OU has not looked in sync the last 2 weeks. I think Oklahoma State can throw them off in Bedlam. They're going to play with more energy than OU, but will the execution be there? I'm saying yes, but when emotions ride high, that's when you can make some of your best decisions or some of your stupidest decisions.
Yeah, I'll kind of use this as a cop out because I don't have great conviction one way or the other. If you look at that season total, I got some work to do. So I gotta, if I'm gonna come back, it's because I win games that you lose. So that's the reason I'm going with Oklahoma. I mean, it's a toss up football wise. But I'll go
Oklahoma
first.
is the favorite. They are the favorite. So.
Yeah, so that helps. For this next game, I think, man, you know what? Give me Texas. This feels like the year for them to accomplish whatever they need to accomplish. I think they still get it done at home.
This game is just, I've struggled as much as you have. And, I got to say, Brandon, I shouldn't be, because I've earned my, I'm looking at this season total on our records. I'm proud of the record I put together. I really am. And, some of that has been by making bold picks. That's how I've been able to build this lead. But I look at this game and this is the first big test for Murphy. He was able to kind of get his feet wet against BYU last week at home again. But how does he look against that? Kansas State is tough. Kansas State's tough. I'm going with my Northern brethren. Give me Kansas State, Brandon.
Let's go. Boy,
Give me them.
I mean, I'll be rooting for you, to be honest.
You know what, Brandon? This you might be building a lead this week. You might be chipping into this thing.
Boy, either that or you're gonna keep building,
or I might have the season
to an insurmountable.
Yeah,
I sure could have a wrapped up here.
Yeah,
but man, I hate to ask you this question here, Drew Russell, but which game are you looking forward to the most here?
Well, I mean, Iowa State, Kansas, just as an Iowa State fandom, of course. That's definitely going to be a fascinating game to me from many levels. I'm going to make a quick case for Bedlam. This is a sad rivalry that's going to be another one of the great college rivalries that's going down the wayside. And one that Oklahoma itself has historically dominated in, but one that the state of Oklahoma, like many in-state rivalries, get behind. Oklahoma leads this series, Brandon, 91-19 and 7
That's
ties.
crazy.
So, I mean, it's been, near all OU. And even since 2000, Oklahoma State's beat them 5 times. Oklahoma has had great success in general. And there was a stretch from 1946 all the way through 1992 that Oklahoma only lost twice. So that shows, look, OU has owned this series historically, yet it's still great for the state. It gets a lot of people talking. There is hatred, and it is, despite OU dominating it in football, but they've got other sports as well. Sad that it's going to be going, is for right now, it looks like down the wayside in the future, unless they reach a deal. So I'm fascinated by that game, and I guess that's my near closing point as well, is how sad just the state of college athletics has gotten rid of, a lot of great rivalries, so many, and it's not going to stop. And even though for OU and Texas, look, they're going to get some marquee games in the future in the SEC. There's going to be a lot of people. You saw the interest for Texas, Alabama this year. Texas is a natural fit in that conference. OU, I think, will adjust as well. But seeing history go to its wayside is not easy to see. It really isn't. So that's kind of the game I'm looking forward to. And also, not for the big games, but also I'm going to be fascinated with that BYU West Virginia game as well, just from bowl eligibility. Two teams I think that have, especially West Virginia, but BYU's done well this year as well. Best of the 4 new members. Big opportunity for both these teams to get a bowl game, and whichever program gets it, it will be a big deal.
Absolutely right. Well said. Well, perfect. Lots of good stuff going on here in Cornhusker Connection. Daily college football content. As a Cornhusker, network, we're excited up north. It should be a great week. Probably the best week of the season for Big 12 football. I can't wait, Drew Russell.
Can't wait either, Brandon. I look forward to hopefully having some winners next week.